Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Tyler, and you guys see the thumbnail. Yes, it's not a what if. I have what if Naruto learned Sage Mode earlier scripted, and it will be recorded and dropped soon. But I just want to get this off of my chest, because this has just been on my mind for a long ass time recently, and I'm tired of it. As the title and thumbnail suggests, we are going to be reviewing Part 5 of JoJo's, aka JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind. Oh, well, what about Part 4? You already did Part 3, but now you're doing Part 5. Oh, you're skipping Part 4. No, I'm not skipping Part 4. I actually want to take time with Part 4 and actually script that entire thing because I really do like Part 4 a lot, and it really did surprise me, and I have a lot to say. Now, Part 5 is memorable, but all for the wrong reasons. I don't really need a script for this because I have all the thoughts just, on the top of my head, some bullet points on a Google document, and I'm ready to just fucking pull down my pants and take a mean-ass shit on this entire series because truly, I don't like it whatsoever. I like some elements, and I'll get into that at first, but for the most part, this is mostly a negative review. And for those who like the part, it's okay to like it. Actually, no, it's not okay to like it. I don't care, alright? If you like it, I don't care, okay? If you want to, say, oh, Giorno Resolve Amp is great. I don't care, alright? If you're just going to disagree because you like Part 5, I don't care. I'm giving reasonings for this shit. So if you just want to say, yeah, I don't agree with that point, then go ahead. I really don't care. This part, I'm just going guns blazing into this. Let's just get immediately right into the intro and into the review. Hey, collecting rings like a Sonic. Bitches wanna party. My wrist getting heavy. Got 'em on a diet, yeah. Flex like I'm Hogan. Yo, bitch coming over. Now, let's get into the good at first, which I have a few things to say about the good. Really, I'm fighting for compliments right now, but I do have a main four. I have Bruno, Narancia, Part 5 Polnareff, and the fights. Now, for the first thing I'm going to be talking about are the fights because it actually is kind of divided. It really depends on the person you're asking and really the person's preference. For me, I feel like some of the Part 5 fights are really great. Now, the fights in Part 5, there are some that are narrative-driven and, well, action-driven mainly. The action-driven ones I can appreciate because they are pretty entertaining to read, but it doesn't really boost the narrative, and narrative is kind of an important thing to me. However, very few, but still, some of the fights in Part 5, when the narrative is driving the fight even more than the action, oh boy, these fights definitely are one of the top tiers and definitely the more memorable moments of JoJo's. For example, we have Bruno versus Diavolo, where Bruno, the leader of his squad, versus Diavolo, the leader of his squad, is, they come together, and this is the introduction to Diavolo in the first fight, or the introductory battle of Diavolo, which is a really great introduction to the character. Bruno versus Pesci, that fight is obviously one of the best ones in this part. I mean, this was the fight that actually woke me up and allowed me to finish Part 5 fully because at first I literally was about to pass out, but this fight woke me up. We have King Crimson versus Polnareff, where we have seen Polnareff lose to Diavolo and literally got thrown into the ocean, and then he comes back in a wheelchair, and he actually has improved in the fight against Diavolo, where he tags him. This shows that Polnareff has been learning from his lessons, and also, I do see you, JoJo writers, the Dio at the top and then Polnareff at the bottom, but now Polnareff at the top and then Diavolo at the bottom of the castle stairs. Yeah, I see you guys. That was fire. I can't cap. And yes, obviously Giorno versus Diavolo, where Diavolo directly has killed his friends and injured most of them, and now he has to be the one to face him. And, Diavolo can't get the arrow, so fuck it, he just stabs himself and Golden Experience Requiem appears. Which I will admit is not nearly as narrative-driven as the fights that I previously just listed, but the action definitely makes up for it, and this fight is definitely hype. Now, as for action-driven fights, we have characters like Narancia versus Little Feet, or the Stan Little Feet. That was pretty engaging. We also have Popo versus Giorno. That was pretty engaging, although the narrative definitely did drive that fight as well. Again, Part 5's fights are really heat. Some of the fights I don't like for example, the one with, the baby Stan, the dude on the computer. Yeah, that guy's a geek, and he's a weirdo. He's a loser. Also, I don't like White Album versus Mista and Giorno because that fight literally shows the main problem that I have with Golden Wind, which I will get into in a second. But yeah, this is kind of a little bit negative, so let me get more on the positive side. Now, Bruno, Polnareff, and Narancia. All three characters are really great. I can get into Bruno and Narancia kind of like in their own category more than just Polnareff, because Bruno and Narancia kind of go hand in hand together. Anyways, as I was saying, Bruno, outside of his first introduction where he like licked Giorno's face to tell if he's lying, which by the way is really weird, I don't care, that shit is still sus, but past that, I do like Bruno a lot. Again, Bruno really is the star of this part, going from, again, his fight with Pesci and Fra and literally saving the entire squad and showing how committed he is to this mission and really how much he cares about his squad. But yeah, once again, he really does show his commitment to the team again by defeating these two with literally everything that he has. I honestly can make a whole video on Bruno by himself, which, you know, if you guys want me to, just let me know down in the comments. You guys want a Bruno dissection video? But yeah, anyways, afterwards, Bruno does shine in the King Crimson fight. Even though, you know, he gets bodied and, you know, he technically dies, he does show a lot more heart after the King Crimson fight, which I'm glad this fight happened, because this made Bruno a 10 times better character than what he was previously. Essentially, when Giorno tried to bring Bruno back to life, it didn't work fully, and Bruno only had a little bit amount of time left in his, you know, time being alive or being kind of alive. It's really weird, but you guys get what I mean if you guys seen the part. But regardless, that scene where Bruno and Giorno talk to each other and Bruno tells Giorno the truth, I honestly, that was one of the saddest moments in part 5 for me, because it just shows how much heart Bruno really has as a character, and honestly, I can really appreciate that. Bruno is some wholesome dude, I can tell you that. He's a wholesome ass dude. Speaking of, we have characters like Narancia, who honestly is one of my favorite characters in all of part 5, to be honest. He was taken in by Bucciolati and whatnot, and he eventually joined the gang, but not through Bucciolati, but rather through Polpo. And honestly, I'm glad he joined the gang and was actually a main member of the cast, because truly Narancia is one of my favorite characters. He has one of the most engaging fights in my opinion, and as a character, he's one of those characters who really isn't flawed. Well, he obviously is a flawed character, you know, as a human being and whatnot, but in comparison to the cast, he really isn't that bad. Narancia, for me, I guess you can also consider this a flaw, but he was a really safe character. Like, nothing too much happened and nothing too little happened with him, if you get what I mean. Not to mention, he is an interesting dynamic to the team. Now, I guess I could add in this as a good, but it's really just like a middle thing with me, and that's Trish. And honestly, Trish doesn't really bother me. I know a lot of people like hate her and despise her, but she doesn't really bother me that much in comparison to some members of the gang, which I will definitely get into. But yeah, the last thing I have to go over is part 5 Polnareff, which, again, he is a character who does get growth, and unironically gets more growth than Giorno in this entire series. He learns from his fight against Diavolo, and it nearly works out in his favor, but sorry bro, Epitaph is just too much of a powerful ability, and Polnareff just kind of gets negged. However, he does learn from that fight, and honestly, he gets growth from it, and it's kind of crazy how he gets more growth than Giorno. Wow, that was a long time elaborating on the good, so I guess I can just kind of barrage all the bad stuff. Now, I'm going to first start with Mista and Fugo. Now, Mista, honestly, he isn't a bad character, but the thing is, he definitely should have died and definitely shouldn't have been one of the characters that survived. Are you kidding me? Mista, in literally almost every fight that he was in, almost died. He got shot in the head 3 times and still came back. In the manga, they didn't even show how he came back. You want to know what they did? They literally just showed like bang, bang, bang. Mista gets shot 3 times. Then the Bruno fight happens. One of those things. And then we just see Mista and the others completely fine. Like they're just chilling. Like what? Mista definitely could have had multiple deaths. He could have died against White Album, which would have made that Giorno Resolve Amp way better, because Mista tried to get a Resolve Amp and then he was like, I'll get an even bigger Resolve Amp. That was fucking lame. But I honestly think Mista could have died there. He could have died in the Pesci and Fra fight. Unironically, he could have died in his first fight as well. And you know what? I would rather have Mista die in the Pesci fight, because it would have been sad, or in the White Album fight, which, again, still would have been sad, or even against Diavolo, rather than characters like Narancia, which, by the way, that death was fucking dog shit. I'm not saying that because, again, I like Narancia. Well, you know, some of that has to do with it. But as a death, I've seen the anime and the manga. When I was reading the manga, I didn't even notice he died. Like, it was that subtle, and it was so, like, rushed and so quick. Like, it was so weird. And in the anime, all we see is Trish go, Narancia! And Mista, like, tear up a little bit, and that's it. That's all we get. Murder, She Wrote. Now, Fugo. Fugo. Fucking Fugo. Alright, first of all, Purple Haze, one of the most probably the goated stand out of all of the entire, like, fucking group. It was so dope, so cool. The Mirror Man fight, didn't really like, but you know what? It was whatever. It was an introductory battle to Fugo's stand, and it was kind of cool to see his stand, not the fight, because the fight was kind of boring. But anyways, Fugo, in the end, you know, he was already on the team and already determined to go and take on Diavolo, and then in the end, he's just like, nah, B, and never returns! I get it, he doesn't want to, you know, betray the boss or whatever, but honestly, I feel like it would have been such a goated Fugo moment if, after he sees Narancha's soul, you know, go up in the air or whatever, Fugo joins the battle and tries to fight Diavolo one-on-one. He's done. His friend died, and you know what? He's gonna take him on now. But no, he just sits on his fat ass eating fucking Dorito chips and drinking Mountain Dew. He's a fucking loser, and I don't like Fugo. Fugo's a dumb bitch. Now, as for Giorno himself, oh boy. Giorno. Honestly, him being Dio's son didn't even need to happen. Let's just get that out the way. Instead of that little Dio pose that he does in the anime and manga, like after he fights Diavolo when he gets Golden Experience Requiem, that's the only Dio reference we get. Like, we don't get anything else. You know, if you're gonna make him Dio's son, you should have maybe elaborated on that fact. Maybe have one of Diavolo's goons be a vampire and actually being kind of connected to Dio. What if he was like an immortal vampire or whatever, being an old-ass boomer sitting on his ass all day, and he was actually a goon for Dio, and Giorno learns more about his past? That would have been kind of cool. I don't know, maybe Giorno becomes, I don't know, like a vampire thing. Literally anything they could have explored in-depthly about, you know, Giorno being Dio's son. But no, it goes nowhere. It's just a little JoJo pose. Like, what? Ah, fucking terrible, dude. Not to mention, Giorno's character growth, you know, I lied in the beginning or earlier in the video. Giorno does have growth. Resolve amp after resolve amp after fucking resolve amp. I don't care about your resolve, you stupid, fat, curly-headed, macaroni, burnt-headed bitch. Like, let's just be honest here. If resolve amps constantly are happening and that's your character arc, you're just terrible. You're not good. It's just like all he does is get resolve amps. And then that's like his character growth and he defeats the villain. Is that supposed to be interesting? That's not interesting. And I did mention Giorno versus Diavolo before, so you know what? I'll just mention Diavolo himself. Honestly, Diavolo as a villain honestly could be worse. It could be really worse. Like, it could be incredibly worse. It could be part 3 Dio. Oh, wait, that's kind of funny how I mentioned it. Because Diavolo is literally so similar to part 3 Dio in terms of, you know, introduction, you know, him being the shadows, both of their abilities having to do with time, being very intimidating, whatnot, etc. But there is one clear difference, or a distinct difference between the two, and that's the whole Doppio thing, which honestly I did like a lot, and I have to give props. The Doppio stuff was pretty cool. And speaking of Doppio, Risotto, oh, completely wasted potential, and La Squadra in general kind of got shafted really quickly. Another thing I do want to give note to is that the first half of part 5, like before the Bruno and Pesci stuff happens, it is incredibly boring. Like, it is not entertaining or engaging whatsoever, in my opinion. However, with Bruno versus Pesci and onward, it does get better, even though there are still incredibly, like, a lot of flaws, dude. Like, in my final version of the entire thing, you know, without completely rewriting it, I would have had Mista die, Narancha live, and Fugo coming in the last battle, and maybe dying, but, you know, that's whatever, up to you guys. Narancha's death was just kind of rough. Fugo definitely should have gotten a redemption scene. Mista should have just been dead long time ago, but he could just die there. And as for things such as Polnareff's fate and him turning into a turtle, I honestly believed he should have kept his stand. He would have been pretty busted, but it would have been a pretty interesting concept. But yeah, his fate is whatever. Silver Chariot Requiem was dope, and they couldn't have done it another way. And in comparison to other things in part 5, it could be way worse. And if you guys are wondering, oh, what about Abbacchio? You know what? Let me give a quick review about Abbacchio. He's a dumb bitch. I don't give a fuck that Giorno reminds him of his cop partner. The fact that he literally said, no, let Fugo handle it, and then immediately handles the situation with Fugo and the Mirror Man is just completely fucking dumb. And I'm glad he died. I laughed when he died. I didn't care. Like, Golden Wind, Part 5, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind. Do you expect me to care about a character who's unlikable? Yeah, okay. Then, yeah, alright. But yeah, I let that all out my system. They should have elaborated on Giorno being Dio's father, maybe having him have a more personal connection with Diavolo or something. But yeah, I'm done talking about this shit. Part 4.5 out of 10, it sucked.